The storm that night was relentless. Rain pounded against the cracked windshield of Daniel's old pickup truck as he gripped the steering wheel, squinting through the downpour. His 6-year-old daughter, Lily, was asleep in the back seat, her little hands clutching the stuffed bunny she never let go of. Daniel was exhausted. Between working double shifts at the mechanic's shop and caring for Lily, his life was a cycle of bills, repairs, and endless responsibility. But no matter how hard it got, he always told himself one thing: as long as my daughter feels safe, I'm doing something right. Just as he turned down the winding road toward their tiny rented cabin, headlights flickered through the sheets of rain. A sleek black car sat half-tilted in a ditch, its tires spinning helplessly in the mud. Smoke curled faintly from under the hood. Daniel slowed. For a moment, he considered driving past. After all, who wouldn't? It was pouring, Lily was asleep, and he had nothing to offer but an old toolbox in the back of his truck. But then he remembered his daughter's innocent words earlier that day: "Daddy, you always help people, even when you don't have much." He sighed, pulled over, and threw on his jacket. Inside the car sat a woman, panic etched across her face. She was clutching the steering wheel, shivering from the cold. "You all right, ma'am?" Daniel called out. Her eyes widened with relief. "Oh, thank God. I can't get out, the door's jammed. The car just spun off the road. Please, can you help?" Daniel didn't hesitate. With one strong pull, he wrenched the door open, shielding her with his jacket as she stumbled out into the rain. She was trembling, soaked to the bone. "You're safe now," he said gently. "Come on, my truck's right there. Let's get you warm." He guided her to the pickup, where Lily stirred awake and blinked at the stranger. Daniel introduced her simply as a friend who needed help. The woman smiled weakly at Lily, then sat silently, watching Daniel drive them toward shelter. Hours later, as the storm eased, Daniel dropped her off at the only hotel in town. She insisted on paying him, but he shook his head. "Don't worry about it. Just glad you're safe," he said, tipping his cap before heading back to his truck. For Daniel, it was just another night. Another act of kindness he hoped Lily would learn from. But for the woman, it was unforgettable. The next morning, that same woman stepped into the boardroom of a towering glass skyscraper in the city. Her name was Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Enterprises, one of the largest investment firms in the country. Nobody in that boardroom knew she'd spent the night before trapped in a ditch, rescued not by her security detail or wealth, but by a stranger in an old truck. And she couldn't stop thinking about him. A week later, Daniel was back at the mechanic's shop, wiping grease from his hands when a line of sleek black cars pulled up outside. His co-workers stared, whispering. Out stepped Victoria Hale herself, flanked by her assistants. Daniel froze, wrench in hand. You're the woman from the storm." She smiled softly. "Yes. And you're the man who saved me. I had to find you." His co-workers' jaws dropped. Billionaires didn't just walk into small-town garages. Victoria looked around, then lowered her voice. "You didn't just pull me out of a car, Daniel. You reminded me of something I'd forgotten: what genuine kindness feels like. I want to thank you properly." Daniel shook his head. "Ma'am, I don't need thanks. I was just doing what anyone would have done." But she saw the weariness in his eyes. The tired lines of a man carrying more than his share of burdens. She glanced toward the office, where Lily sat coloring quietly while waiting for her dad to finish work. And in that moment, Victoria realized the truth: this man wasn't just anyone. He was extraordinary. Over the next few weeks, Victoria returned again and again. Sometimes she brought Lily small gifts, nothing extravagant, just things a child would love. Sometimes she simply sat in the shop, talking to Daniel during his breaks. Slowly, the walls Daniel had built around himself began to crumble. He told her about losing his wife years ago, about raising Lily alone, about the dreams he once had but buried under responsibility. Victoria listened. Really listened. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and Lily skipped across the parking lot, Victoria turned to Daniel. You know, when I first met you, I thought you were just some mechanic with an old truck. But you're more. You're the kind of man money can't buy: honest, selfless, good. Daniel gave a half smile. Well, money doesn't exactly come around here much anyway. She paused, then said something he never expected. What if I told you I wanted to invest in you? At first, Daniel laughed it off. But Victoria was serious. She offered to help him open his own repair shop, something he'd always dreamed of but never had the means to do. This isn't charity, she assured him. This is partnership. You believed in helping me when you didn't know who I was. Now I believe in you. Daniel hesitated, torn between pride and opportunity. But then he looked at Lily, her hopeful little face, and he realized this was bigger than himself. The grand opening of Lily's Auto and Repair came 6 months later. The shop was bright, modern, and buzzing with customers. Daniel wore his name proudly across his new uniform, while Lily handed out cookies to anyone who walked in. Victoria was there, too, smiling quietly from the corner, knowing she hadn't just changed a man's life. He had changed hers first. But the true climax came one evening, long after the shop had closed. Daniel sat on the steps with Lily, watching the stars. She leaned against him and whispered, "Daddy, remember when you saved that lady in the rain? That was the best thing you ever did." Daniel chuckled softly. "Yeah? Why's that?" "Because she saved us back," Lily said simply. Daniel's throat tightened. He hugged her close, realizing his daughter was right. The kindness he'd given away had come back to them in ways he could never have imagined. And so, the story of a single dad and a billionaire wasn't about wealth, or power, or titles. It was about a man who proved that kindness given freely can ripple farther than we ever expect. It was about a woman who rediscovered her humanity in the most unlikely of places. And it was about a little girl who reminded them both that sometimes the greatest riches aren't found in banks or boardrooms, but in the simple act of helping someone when they need it most. Message: no matter who you are, rich or poor, powerful or ordinary, your smallest act of kindness can change someone's entire life. And often, in ways you never see coming, it can change yours too.